I'm about to dig into this sheet pan sausage with Brussels and sweet potato. It's great for fall, but it's also just great for any weeknight meal year round. It all roasts in the oven at the same time. It's finished with a quick vinaigrette, and I'm gonna show you how to do each step because you're gonna wanna make this. Let's go. This is a fall weeknight meal at its best. It's a sheet pan meal using all of the fall bounty that I love from the garden. We're using Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, some red onion, we're gonna use some herbs, and we're gonna put sausage with it and let it all roast in the oven. To really bring it together, we're gonna make a really delicious vinaigrette that kind of goes over the top too, because I think with a sheet pan meal, the one thing is you want bright, you want acidic, you want sweet, tang, you want all those flavors to marry. That's a vinaigrette. So what we're starting with are getting the vegetables ready. And that's starting with the Brussels sprouts. So I cleaned them, took like some of the root or that stem end off, and then I like to cut them in half just because Brussels can be big, they roast more evenly, but you also get more surface area for that brown caramelization that happens in the oven when you slice them in half. So that's what I'm doing. And you know, Brussels sprouts, they're really like a mini cabbage. So they have that great crisp texture, and that's what I love. For sweet potatoes, you can see I'm dicing them in somewhat the same sizes. Oh, this was one, guys, I forgot this one. So roughly, you know, ½ inch, but it can be whatever you want. Now, sometimes since sweet potatoes are irregular sized, this one came down to a small point on this end. I cut that off first, but then that allows you to cut this side up a little bit easier. Now, if you have a specific size you want, guess what? It's tailored to whatever you want, and you can do that. I like to just slice them up pretty quickly. I don't like to worry too much about it. It's a rough chop, and that's all we want here. So what we're doing is getting everything in somewhat even sizes, so when it roasts, it kind of roasts at an even rate, and that is what can be more important. So since this is all going on the sheet pan, I'm gonna start by taking the sweet potato and the Brussels, and we're gonna put them all on there together. Now, this is a time where, since we're gonna fill this sweet pan with all this bounty, all this good, harvesty goodness, it's really good if you have convection mode on your oven. Turn that thing on and use the convection, because what that does, it has fan in the back, or 2 fans in the back go, and start moving that hot air around like an air fryer. So you're gonna be roasting more evenly and getting brown all the way around without turning things. So what I wanna do now though too is add some onion. So I'm just gonna roughly chop some red onion. Why am I using red? It is a little bit sweeter. Honestly though, you know why? It's pretty. It looks really good on a sheet pan with all these vegetables, and I like the color, but I will say it does have just a little bit of sweetness, and I think a little bit less of the harsh astringency that sometimes just a yellow onion can have. So we're gonna put these on here too in kind of bigger pieces. Look at all that. Look how beautiful this is. That is what, to me, a meal is all about. Then we're gonna start with some herbs, and I need to prepare them. So I have some sage. We have the heavy hitters of fall. It's fall, so you know what we're gonna use. We're gonna use some sage, which these are massive sage from the garden here. But I'm gonna take them and I wanna mince them, so I'm just gonna roll them up pretty tightly. And then I'm just gonna start mincing these so we can add them. Take off that little stem and then just give it a whirl. Once that sage is minced, I'm just taking off the leaves of the thyme. Now you could throw in whole sprigs of thyme. They kind of bake off while they're in there. I like to strip the leaves sometimes and get you get some bigger pieces in. You can give them a mince if you want, but I just think it's easier kind of to strip them like that. And then you can give them a little bit of a rough chop. If you have a little small of that like tender end of the stem, that's okay. So we have sage and thyme that are gonna give us that beautiful aroma of fresh herb, which to me is essential, I'm gonna be honest. This is what elevates a dish. You can roast vegetables any night of the week. You can do it all the time, but adding elements that have more flavor, fresh herbs, they have flavor. And these are the things that when I grew up, we didn't have fresh herbs usually like this. We hardly grew any fresh herbs, so we used dry. So these flavor hits are what modernize and kind of update something that maybe you're nostalgic to. Mom made sheet pan meals a lot, but it didn't have those fresh flavors, and so we love to do that now. So we're gonna make sure we get a good douse of olive oil. The olive oil obviously is what's gonna help it caramelize in the oven. It's gonna give it flavor. It's gonna give it that roasting quality we want. And so you really wanna make sure you give it a good hit of it and put it all around. And then this is when you have a chance to get dirty. We're gonna get in there with our hands, the best tools in the kitchen, and we're gonna give it a good toss. You wanna make sure everything is coated. This isn't a time to skimp out and say, oh, I don't wanna get dirty. No. Get in there, coat everything, because this is what makes sure that oil is all the way around. You then just want to spread everything out. I did wash my hands to clean up, but have it somewhat an even layer. And this is when you want to make sure you salt it well. So you go higher. You know when you see people do this and it looks fancy and you think they're just trying to show off? That's not why. When you go a little higher with your salt, you're able to more evenly get it spread around, and you actually end up using less. So I'm taking my kosher salt, making sure everything gets a little bit of it. And did you know, this is true, you can look it up. This is true. When you cook at home, if you cook at home as much as you can, if not all the time, you're always gonna have less salt in your diet than if you eat out, or if you're buying processed foods. It's just a fact. So while it looks like you're salting things maybe more, you're not. You're using less in the end, and you're having more flavor. So we're gonna now take some just black pepper and making sure to get that all over. You know, black pepper does have its place. We sometimes feel like it's overused, but it has, when it's freshly cracked too, such a nice, strong quality. So when that's on there, we have one thing left, sausages. You can use whatever sausage you like, a sweet Italian, a hot Italian, any type of, even a brat if you want to. If you're in the Midwest, we have brats in links like sausages, so you could use that too. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just place these. Now I like to put them down in a little bit so they get some contact with the bottom of that pan, because then you know what, when you get that bottom, you know what you're gonna get? Browning. And that browning is where flavor is. So we're gonna put these in. Look how beautiful that is. And now we're gonna put this whole thing right into the oven. We're gonna let it roast. Now, if you don't have convect bake, don't feel bad. About halfway through, flip everything, including the sausages, so they get browned evenly, because things will only brown on the bottom otherwise. I just pulled this out of the oven. You can see, this is my favorite part here. See the crispy bits on like the Brussels, and the same goes for the sweet potato, all that browning. Now, if you have a conventional oven, you just turn things about halfway through to try to get it evenly browned. The sausages are cooked through. This is a great sheet pan meal, because look what we're getting here. We're getting vegetables, we're getting those complex carbs, the sweet potato, and we're getting sausage. So what we're gonna do is make a quick vinaigrette, because I treat it almost like a salad, but have something that goes on it at the end that really brightens it and adds something fresh and a nice pop. So that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna start with, I have some minced garlic. I'm gonna put that right in here. Now, I love garlic and I love the pungency it's gonna have, but what you can do, if you wanna take away a little bit of that garlic oomph in the beginning, we're gonna use apple cider vinegar, but take your vinegar, put it with the garlic, and that can sit for a few minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and actually kind of quiets down that fresh garlic. So you can do that if you kind of wanna dampen that out a little bit. Then we're gonna add a good hefty dose of Dijon mustard. Why? Because I love that funkiness it adds. Obviously, we use it usually in vinaigrette because it emulsifies, but the flavor here is what I'm going for, and it works so well with the sausage and the sweet potato. We're gonna also add in some maple syrup. That's gonna kind of play up the sweetness of the sweet potato, just enough to kind of add a little bit more. You need some salt. You definitely always need to make sure you salt things well. And then some black pepper, which I just filled up. And did you see? Always snap on the top of your pepper mill when you're gonna do it, because you just didn't do that. By the way, everyone's always wondering, my pepper mill, I do love it. It's an old one, I've had it for years, so I don't have the same exact one necessarily to tell you, but it is a good one. So what we're gonna do is put that in and then finish off with olive oil. With that olive oil added, you just wanna whisk it until it comes together. So you can see when it's half whisked, you still see that oil on the outside, but if you keep going, look at that. Look at how beautifully that comes together, and it gets that nice Dijon vinaigrette we have going there. It almost gets like this creaminess to it, and that's what you want. Now, I always think it's a good idea to have something close by. I'll use my fork here, but taste it. Ooh, that is good. Ooh, it's like sweet with the Dijon. I love that. So now you can plate it up. You can serve it on a big platter. You can serve it right from the sheet pan, why not? But what I would do is just drizzle some of this dressing all over. And you can have some on the side too if you want, but that's gonna add just this final pop. And that's what you need. It's one of my favorites. This is, you guys ask often, what do I eat on a nightly basis? If I don't just have leftovers from videos, this is the type of thing I eat. I just throw whatever I have on a sheet pan and enjoy it. So I'm just gonna eat it right off here because we're all friends, right? We're all family. And I'm gonna take some of, a little bit of everything. I want some sweet potato. I want that right on there too. Big bite. Guys, do you know what I forgot before I take my bite? We have feta cheese. It really finishes it off if you put some feta on it, which I'll just sprinkle a little bit so you get the idea, but I am gonna put a piece right on mine too, because I love that brine feta. It's a big bite. That's a good bite. That is good. What I love is all of it. Sausage, you have to do nothing to. If you buy a good sausage, this is a hot Italian sausage, it has flavor. It has all that oomph in it. And that melds perfectly with the sage we put in, with the vegetables, with the thyme, They roasted so beautifully that you can see the caramelization on them. That adds flavor. That vinaigrette at the end brings it all together. I could just dip in that vinaigrette. And then that feta cheese, so good. What do I hope you do with this? I hope you realize weeknight meals don't have to be boring, they don't have to be out of a box, and they don't have to be tasteless. This is everything you want in a weeknight meal, and it's seasonal, and it's delicious. So I hope you make it. I hope you share this video around so other people can see how easy and delicious this is too. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. They're all on there. Till next time, I hope your weeknights just got a little bit brighter.